really good, interesting Chenin Blanc is the last great table wine for California. And that's what Clarksburg always has been able to do best, is to show that you don't necessarily need to have fancy ground in Napa or Sonoma. You don't necessarily need to charge a ton of money, and you don't necessarily need to chase down the same varieties that everyone else in the state wants to chase. You don't have to just make everything about Chardonnay and Cabernet. You can do something that is perfectly suited to where you are, that grows really well, that enjoys sort of rich and complex soils, and the complex network of waterways and tributaries that makes Clarksburg so unique. And you can create a wine that is charming, and that's really most importantly, that's really the most important word when it comes to these wines. They don't need to be the great dramatic wines of the world. They are charming, they're interesting, they're delicious. And the better that the farming gets in Clarksburg, the more seriously that people take Chenin Blanc in particular, the more serious and profound wines we're starting to see, and yet they're able to do that without losing that charming nature. If you go back to the 1970s and to Grand Cru vineyards when they were making just a straightforward, simple table wine from Clarksburg Chenin Blanc that they could sell right after the vintage, it was an important wine. It was a wine that got people interested in drinking out of California in a more serious and studious way. It was, when the 80s came along, an opportunity for people to actually learn what the Chenin Blanc grape was, to start calling it by its name. And the fact that those vineyards and those plantings have endured decade after decade, that they've resisted the pressure that everywhere else in California has faced to just switch to the most obvious varieties, to graft over to Merlot because Merlot's hot that year. That's extraordinary. That's something that very few people in the state have actually been able to accomplish. Now, when Gerald Asher tackled this topic in 1990, he had the perspective of seeing just how long these grapes had stayed in the ground, just how diligently the growers had worked to keep farming something that, to be perfectly honest, wasn't going to earn them a lot of money, and saw that there was this great potential, this right grape in the right place, as he called it, that was in Clarksburg, and that offered the chance for California to do something different. It's interesting that I always go back to Gerald's piece on Clarksburg and on Chenin Blanc when I want to think about how you write a truly, truly great wine story. When you want to talk about how there's something that is unique, that is unknown to people, that isn't simply talking about big important wines because they're big important wines, but to talk about something, again, that's charming, that's different, that shows California in a light that people don't know. And of course, Gerald's true, great, brilliant talent is to take something that could be as humble as Chenin Blanc in Clarksburg and to go back and fully understand the soils, the climate, the history, to put together all of the many, many pieces of it to tell readers what the context is. And that's almost always what gets lost in talking about California. I think Clarksburg is one of those perfect places that has the opportunity to achieve so much more, and that has over and over again shown just how great its grapes can be. There's this opportunity to get beyond what most people know about Clarksburg because there are these great soils, because there is this willingness to meet the market where it is. And I think the more that serious, diligent winemakers come and see what's there, the more that you're going to see great wines getting recognized, served all over the country, that have Clarksburg on the label, that have the recognition for a place that truly is very special.